Starship Troopers is one of the best sci-fi action films of all time, and it features the coolest battles between humans and giant CGI bug-like creatures. Almost every fan of the genre has seen this film, and it has even made it into one of the genre's best works from the 80s and the 90s. It ended up having a massive influence over the years, and we don't have to go too far for that example because we have this year's major gaming event, Helldivers 2, as one of them. Most of the game's hilarious moments are clearly inspired by Starship Troopers, and it just clears that Starship Troopers was a satire ahead of its time. Over the years, fans have rediscovered this film and understood what Paul Verhoeven was trying to say. However, the unique message of Starship Troopers got the movie into trouble when it was banned in one of the major European countries. Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. What is Starship Troopers? What's it all about? Robert A. Heinlein is known for giving us some of the best sci-fi works in literature, and Starship Troopers is definitely among the best pieces of literature that critique the system. This critique of the army, propaganda, and the US government is amongst the finest of his works, and it is written in a fashion that you will always be focusing on the subtext and the context at different times. The 80s gave us movies that explored the science fiction theme to other layers, including the cyberpunk genre while having a vital political context at play. And this was the case with both RoboCop and They Live. It only made sense that a film was developed on this literary work with Ed Neumeyer, the writer from RoboCop, who actually brought his treatment of the novel to Hollywood. Director Paul Verhoeven helmed the project, which was a perfect choice considering the director had proved his credibility to make some interesting choices with such projects while keeping in touch with the core idea of it all. After all, the director gave us RoboCop, which is more than an action sci-fi film when it comes to establishing the world and the media surrounding the center of interest. You must be wondering why we are focusing on these aspects of the alien bug killing movie, but then you will find that this is where the controversy lies regarding the film. A lot of changes were made to the original literature by removing certain aspects while at the same time developing new plot details to keep the audience hooked. The story is based on the 23rd century, when the United Citizen Federation ruled the planet, and the workings of this federation might make you question some things. It was formed by veterans of a generation who saw how the world was brought to absolute chaos because of democracy and some scientists. Now, the facilities for the citizens are only provided to the people who have selflessly contributed to society. Thus, only certain people are allowed to vote and take other such benefits. Now, humans conduct missions where they try to colonize other planets in the galaxy by fighting against creatures who are highly evolved bugs. I mean, yeah, that does sound like Helldivers 2, but we will explore that connection later. Johnny Rico, a teenage jock, joins the mobile infantry to impress his girlfriend, Carmen, so that he can be around her, while their friend Carl Jenkins joins the military intelligence. Neil Patrick Harris plays Carl Jenkins, but he's composed here with a serious role, which might be unbelievable for his present fans. Anyway, Rico is played by Casper Van Dien, someone who was supposed to become a big name in the 90s, and his girlfriend is played by Denise Richards. There was a specific look and feel that Verhoeven wanted to attach to these characters to indicate a confident Aryan look from the Nazi Empire, and that actually did work, considering the majority of the stars in the films were pure white blonde actors, with Jake Busey almost looking like someone from the SS with that crazy jaw. Anyway, we follow the three friends as they encounter each battle against the giant arachnoids while doing their specific roles. Eventually, we discover that Rico's unit, the Roughnecks, was put into the battleground as a trap because the Federation wasn't anticipating that one of the main arachnoids, a brain bug, would be waiting for them. Rico saves the day. This trio gets back together to celebrate their victory, and the Federation catches the brain bug. Oh, and I forgot to mention the hilarious but genuine propaganda videos for the mobile infantry shown throughout the film. The movie even ends with one of the ads asking people to enlist to be like Carmen, who had managed to prove her captaincy while Rico went into battle with his troop. This video is no different from that Uncle Sam poster you might have seen, but the only thing is that it doesn't hold back on the violent aspect, which seems to make it more funny somehow. The effects and the giant arachnoids make it quite a feast for the eyes, and Verhoeven ensures that these creatures don't become the film's primary focus. But in the end, the critical response wasn't what you might have expected for this feature, and people didn't get the concept Verhoeven wanted to deliver. It was only later that the movie found some success, as over time, people re-evaluated it and finally gave it a place amongst the best films in the science fiction genre ever made. The elements of satire sprinkled on top of this creature feature, with the brilliant effects, only make it another brilliant effort from the director. After all, we all know that several modern masterpieces were flops when they were released. But then, Starship Troopers is no Citizen Kane. And it also has flaws, you know, with most of the performances and moments that weren't required. Even though Verhoeven steers clear of the sequel problem in Hollywood, it was surprising to see that he intended to make a sequel to Starship Troopers. However, the film's failure led him to drop all plans for a sequel and move on to other projects. The studios realized its potential and pursued low-budget direct-to-home sequels and CGI features. Starship Troopers 2: Hero of the Federation was released in 2004, and Neumeier returned for the writing duties, but the story followed a whole new set of characters. Van Dien would reprise his role as Rico for the 2008 entry, Starship Troopers 3: Marauder, with Neumeier continuing as the writer. This entry was followed by 2 CGI animated films that saw the original characters returning, but the actors only reprised their roles for the voice work in the second film. And actually, it doesn't end there, because Van Dien had recently stated that there's a possibility of a reboot in the form of a TV series, and this was supposed to be closer to Heinlein's novel. While films and other adaptations might have followed, this movie had a completely different level of influence in the years that followed. Lines like "Would you like to know more?" and other aspects of the film became part of pop culture, and various celebrated directors have even mentioned that they regarded this movie as a significant influence on their work, which only makes sense, actually. And also, we cannot talk about Starship Troopers this year without mentioning Helldivers 2. The game involves a variety of in-universe propaganda inspired by the film, and the bug designs look awfully similar. The game's tone seems to mock the fascist future, and it got quite a reaction from the gamers. Cause, you know, even though the movie wasn't subtle at the satirical tone, kudos to Verhoeven, this caused similar trouble. Disturbing things you should know from the Starship Troopers movie. As we had already mentioned, it does sound weird that the sci-fi feature about killing space bugs that you saw once ended up causing quite a lot of controversy. You should give it another chance after watching this video, because there are moments throughout the film where we see some interesting points being made. Remember when Rico went to enlist for the mobile infantry? The man at the desk talked about how the infantry had made him the man he had become, but then the camera showed that this individual had lost every limb except, you know, one of his hands. While one might not focus on it immediately, even the moments building up to that indicate the fate of these individuals who enlist for the infantry, you know, making you think. Another significant detail is regarding the origin of these bugs, which needs to be explained throughout the movie. We got character development for these bugs when the way they work is described, but you know, that's just it, that's all. There is no explanation regarding how it all started. No, nothing. Is the Federation hiding something about these bugs that we should know about, or is there a larger purpose in killing these bugs? While these bugs are given an exciting development, the humans are transformed into robotic creatures who just follow orders, even if it means death. There is an interesting parallel played out between humans and bugs that one might not focus on right away, and it takes time to hit you when we hear the comparison between the selfless members of society and the arachnoids' characteristics. The Federation's workings towards punishment are brutal, and it might seem seem like something that existed at the various monarchies in history. There is a public display of execution, and the sentence given to Rico when he accidentally gets one of his men killed are two things that put you off right away. It feels as if these things have been normalized across the world somehow, and people have accepted this reality while the media continues to promote such violence. One of the teachers significantly influences Rico, and he clearly states that violence is one of the most considerable problem solvers throughout history. It almost feels like the teacher is also involved in feeding the ideologies of the fascist regime to these kids, and he does end up being successful in doing so. The mere fact that the individual becomes a citizen, if and only if they perform the civic duty of serving, is another primary reference to the Federation's fascist regime. Fundamental human rights like voting and procreation are only given to those who serve their nation, forcing everyone to become a tool for the government. Verhoeven makes the film look like a big-budget Brechtian play, yet nobody managed to somehow catch the hook. The over-the-top nod to the military and references to visuals inspired by the 1935 propaganda film Triumph of the Will make it more satirical than any of his past works. Even if you sit back and just enjoy the action and the battle of the film, I can guarantee that some bits and pieces will make you laugh. At the end of the day, if you sit down and focus on that, Verhoeven intended to judge these scenarios that might be hilarious and yet creepily relatable. Verhoeven has clarified that he intended to make a right-wing fascist satire movie, and the biggest joke of it all was that it was inside the layers of a story about killing space bugs. Now, the fact that his intention was not made clear during the film's promotion is probably the only reason people didn't realize the message he was trying to get through. While a certain amount of criticism had gone towards the poor acting in the movie, it seems that Verhoeven might have used that as a part of his joke. Because, the fact that each of the individuals in the infantry is dedicated entirely towards nationalism in a fascist regime seems like, a joke that might not be too much fiction, but it might turn into a possible reality shortly. He ensured that his comments regarding the rising totalitarian regime made it through to the audience, but sadly, he didn't get to achieve that in time. Is it really banned or not? Since cinema has become a significant cultural movement, various movies have been banned, proving that film has sometimes achieved their goals. Einstein's 1925 masterpiece, Battleship Potemkin, was banned in several countries after its release for fear of giving people an idea of revolution. And actually, it did manage to do that successfully. The fact that someone is banning the film is a significant win for the people and the cause behind the film, because it makes us more intrigued by the particular media piece, right? Would you believe that Barbie, last year's major box office win, was banned in several countries for various reasons, but the primary reason amongst them was because of depictions of homosexuality. Now, Starship Troopers' real subtext might have taken its time to reach the audience, but that doesn't mean it didn't get through at its time. Verhoeven, brought up in the German-occupied Netherlands during World War II, achieved small success with his intentions in Germany. The uncut version of Starship Troopers is banned actually in Germany, and it's illegal to advertise the feature, or, display it or even sell it to minors. Amongst the other reasons for this ban that include violence, gore, and nudity, the one that actually does make sense is the point that the movie promotes fascism. Yes, Germany didn't like the fact that the movie was trying to be very on the nose regarding the fascist regime under the Federation. This fact comes as a surprise, and it might have shaken Verhoeven too, because during his original discussions while developing his film with Neumeier, he had mentioned that the original intentions of the book clashed with what he had personally experienced. So he instead wanted the fascist view to go to such a level that the audience ended up asking, are these people crazy? He even managed to add the weird love triangle that was supposed to take people right back into the plot, instead of focusing on the plot detail that there are significant references to the totalitarian regime of the Federation. We can only assume that the censor board in Germany might have noticed the uniforms that were given to the officials that seemed as if they were directly taken from the uniforms of the Nazi Empire, during their regime. If the movie were to come out today, the critics would have been raving at the audacity of Verhoeven's work, proving that Verhoeven was way ahead of his time. But then it will always be sad to think that the target audience didn't understand these details and the movie flopped. Luckily, the present generation has had the chance to see these elements, and they may better understand understand that Verhoeven talked about these aspects while they turn into reality. Marvelous verdict. Starship Troopers is the third and final entry to Verhoeven's unofficial science fiction trilogy, along with Total Recall and RoboCop. While the movie didn't get to deliver the intended purpose during its release, it's actually more hilarious to see the studio's work on the more glammy aspects that were in the story as the prime focus in the sequels. Verhoeven's work is a reminder that messages like these could be delivered inside a box filled with guns, robots, space travel, and other crazy action concepts. If you want, give this movie another chance. And if the joke still doesn't get to you, well, there's always the book, which is much clearer about what it's trying to say. And if the book is too much, which it can be, because Verhoeven didn't even finish reading it before making the film, then there's Helldivers 2 for you. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one, and be safe. Thanks everyone.